Kind of would help if I turn the mic on. So let me make sure that this is working volume wise. Should be. Yep, okay, so the volume is working, but it does seem a little low, so excuse me, let me check my sound levels here. I don't want to grow up, I'm a Toys R Us kid. Yep, okay, my mic's set to max. Okay, so let me double check one more time. Okay. All right. This is the Angry Wrench. I am the Angry Wrench, the Angry Wrench Show. Gee, what a surprise. This is a show that covers all sorts of issues, mostly political, social stuff, but, you know, I might occasionally cover something else. Tonight we're going to cover a subject that is, excuse me, it's kind of dry here, that is mostly common to everyone in America. I want to say probably 50% of more people of people in America, or more, slightly more, making $160,000 a year or less. So $160,000 a year is $80 an hour. Now I personally don't know too many people that make $80 an hour full time. I mean, there might be lawyers make some here and there, but that I know, but most people I know don't make $80 an hour. Most people in America don't make $80 an hour. This is not a right-left issue at all. This is not a right-left leftist issue. This is not a uber-right, libertarian leftist issue. This is a people issue. This is a class issue. This is a money issue. And so we're just going to jump right into it. Okay, so first of all, like I said, I am the Angry Wrench. I give my opinion on this show here. Usually it's unfiltered. Sorry. So I am an unapologetic leftist boomer trans woman. As my regulars know, I'm not shy about giving my opinions. And I will tell you if something is my opinion specifically, or if I claim it as fact. If I claim it as fact, I will give backup, which I'm going to be doing on this show in particular. This is the first show I've done in a while, number one. Well, I think I did one last week, but I was on hiatus for a while. It's also the first show in a while that I've done where there's going to be some numbers in this show. It's not going to be something that I'm not going to throw a bumper sticker ideology at you. I'm not going to, talk about, it feels bad or it feels good or whatever. I'm going to back my shit up. Speaking of which, this show has often some non-suitable for work language. So if you happen to be watching this at work, you might want to put in your headphones or earplugs. Yeah, that'd be good. Or earpods or whatever. Okay, AirPods, whatever. If the occasional goddammit or fuck bothers you, this probably isn't the show for you. I'm not changing it. You've been warned. But let's get to the topic, okay? Inflation. We're going to start with that. Now, we've been talking. We've seen in the news, about inflation. And prices of this are going to go up. Prices. For some reason, they always mention eggs. Now, that's a common staple in American households, for a lot of American households. I don't eat them that often, but I do eat them. 2-3 months ago, a 6-pack of eggs here I live in Western Michigan, was 98 cents for a 6-pack. It was like $1.80, slightly cheaper for a dozen eggs. Now that same 6-pack is $2.50. And this is before any tariffs or anything come in. So again, this isn't about a left-right issue. This is about price gouging from corporations. And I'm sure that with other prices, whether the last I knew, which was 2-3 months ago that I bought it, a 1-pound roll of hamburger was $5 and rising. 1 pound. And so people wonder why a lot of Americans are overweight, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that they have to buy crappy food because they can't afford quote-unquote healthy food. Healthy food is expensive as shit, as everybody knows. Again, right, left doesn't matter. Everybody knows that. And when you buy crappy food, you get usually crappy health outcomes. which is where we're going with this. Let's start off with America has the best healthcare in the world. Maybe, if you can pay for it. How does the American healthcare system compare to other countries? Well, let me get my pictures set up here. Pictures, where are you at? Where are you at, you wee bastard? There we go. Okay. What's up? What's up, Joe with Fire? Joe with Fire. Okay, we're gonna raise this up. Raise up. For some reason, a sea chanty just popped in my head. I don't know why. Okay, I don't know why. So we're gonna switch screens here so I can get into the details, in the weeds, so to speak. So we're gonna talk about the biggest healthcare cost in America. Okay. It isn't prescription drugs, which is high, don't get me wrong, we'll get into the weeds. It isn't prescription drugs. It isn't personal health care. It isn't home health care. It isn't anything but hospital costs. Now that's ER, that's surgery, that's, x-rays, labs, whatever. Okay, all that's included. I remember I had to do some labs because I have some heart issues 4 or 5 months ago. And if my insurance hadn't covered it, because they send you a report of what it is and say you owe this or you don't owe this or whatever. 6 labs were $655 for 6 labs. Okay. And again, doesn't matter. Republican, Democrat, Trump supporter, Kamala Harris supporter, doesn't matter. Health insurance companies took in $25 billion last year. Now that is something that, especially with the UHC situation, which I'm not really going to get into because that's not the focus of this episode, that is something that is really bandied about, is really pushed forward. It's $25 billion. Now that's profit. That's not revenue. That's not where they bring money in, and then they have to take money out of that to pay their costs, to pay employee salaries, to pay whatever, to pay somebody $10 million a year to be CEO. That's their profit. Okay. Same thing for hospitals. Okay. The amount that I'm going to mention is taken. They've already taken out costs for lab equipment. They've already taken out costs for specialists. They've already taken out costs for all sorts of things, respiratory therapists, ER visits, especially ER visits where someone comes in because they don't have a doctor, and the ER has to usually soak up that cost. Profit, $90 billion, not million, billion, profit. Now, obviously, one hospital isn't making all that, but over the entire country, $90 billion. Okay. The U.S. federal and state governments have generally done shitty to regulate prices, to lower prices, whatever. They do on occasional things, like, for example, with insulin. Lately, it's been capped, and that's cool. Okay, and especially because a lot of people recently, I'm sure you've seen, news reports, have died because they had to ration their insulin because they couldn't afford to get their amount of insulin that they needed, and so they died. Ran GoFundMes, and even with GoFundMes, some of them died. And they didn't mention it, and nor do I care whether or not they were Republican or Democrat or whatever political stripe. I don't care. They're human beings, and they shouldn't die for lack of health care. Okay. Despite popular opinion, we're number one. We're number one. No, we're not. We don't have better health care than other countries. We spend a lot more, by we I mean the government, as far as Medicare and Medicaid, plus we, private insurance, individuals like you and me, we spend a lot more, and we usually have worse outcomes. Lack of price limits on doctor visits, drugs, medical procedures are a part of the problem. Of the $4.5 trillion spent in 2022, again, this is revenue, so this is before they spend, pay wages and whatever. Okay, hospitals got $1.3 trillion. Trillion. Doctors got $900 billion. Health insurance, including private, Medicare, Medicaid, government sponsored, including all that, costs around $315 billion in administrative costs. Wages in part, okay, but in administrative costs, okay, $315 billion. And you wonder why our healthcare costs are so high. You wonder why our premiums are so high. My stepdad was the one who raised me, okay, and he told me, he's passed away now, but he told me, 10 years or so before he passed away, he'd had 2 heart attacks at that time. He was insulin-dependent diabetic, and he had emphysema, okay, from working the job he had. And he told me that his insurance premiums, and he had really good Blue Cross Blue Shield, okay, his insurance premiums were $1,200 a month. Not 12, not 120, $1,200 a month. And he worked for the city for, 45 years, almost 50 years. Got a pension. I think he was also on Social Security, but because of the way Social Security is structured, he only got about a third of what someone who wasn't working or whatever would get. And so he fortunately he owned his own home, and just had to pay taxes on it. He owned his own vehicle, and just had to keep it, the upkeep, the taxes, whatever, tax title, all that crap. Didn't go out and party. He was in his late 60s, or I think he was 74, 75 when he died of his third heart attack. $1,200 a month. That's more than a lot of people make on Social Security, which is why they have Medicare and Medicaid, that the government wants to cut. Prescription drugs. Again, this is a lot of times with insurance, okay. Healthcare, Medicare, Medicaid, private health insurance, whether it's UHC or Blue Cross Blue Shield or whatever, okay. $450 billion. Excuse me, $405 billion a year, okay. And we have an aging population. Those costs are going to go up. I'm one of the quote-unquote lucky ones. I survived, so far. I'm 64, okay. I retired at 62 and a half, but 62, okay. A lot of my friends didn't make it. A lot of my family members didn't make it for a variety of reasons, okay. Most of the time it has to do with health, all right. So let's get into one of the biggest costs of healthcare. Where are we at here? Nope, I don't want that one. Sorry. I'm a professional. Yeah, okay. So we're going to get one of the biggest costs here. This is a cost that can affect everyone. Again, irrespective of party. Doesn't matter. For this particular show, I don't care if you're Democrat. I don't care if you're Republican. It's going to hit you. And the costs are not going to go down. Doesn't matter who's president. It's going to hit you. The costs are not going to go down. Okay. Bankruptcy. For medical debts. Okay. First off, a lot of people go to the ERs, which are often swamped. Considering the amount that hospitals do take in, they're often understaffed or underpaid for the people that are staffed. Healthcare costs are the number one cause of bankruptcy, more than anything else. Okay. 56 million people struggle with medical costs every year. About 9% can't afford to pay anything. About 11% ran those debts up on credit cards, high interest credit cards. We're talking anywhere from 20 to sometimes 30% annually, okay, for credit card fees, which if a private individual were doing that would be loan sharking. But it's okay, because it's credit card. Again, that's irrespective of party. That's irrespective of president. That's irrespective of who's in charge in Congress. 90% of people owing large medical debts get a second mortgage on their home, assuming they have one, okay, to pay for their medical debts. And a lot of times, for example, I remember reading a story about a man who was in his 50s. His mother was almost 80, okay, got heart problems. She kind of sort of had him, leading up to that, but wasn't too bad till the last 5 years or so before he did this, and he took a second mortgage out on his home. And a year later, she died of a heart attack. But he still got to pay that mortgage. Still got to pay that moolah. About 14 million people owe over $1,000 in medical bills. Okay, are you one of them? What happens if tomorrow you break your arm? You know, and you have to go to the hospital to get it fixed, or toe, whatever. Okay, but you have to go to the hospital. Believe me, toe ain't cheap either. Okay, with ER costs and everything else. X-rays, you know, whatever, blood tests, labs. About 3 million people owe over 10,000. Okay, 62% of the roughly 2 million personal bankruptcies every year are due to medical costs. 62%, almost 2/3. Okay. The ironic thing is that there's been little change in the percentage before the ACA was passed and afterwards. So ACA, Obamacare, whatever you want to call it, okay, was passed. People got health care, cool, fine, dandy, okay. The amount of bankruptcies didn't change, which is kind of ironic. It's almost as if giving patients access to health care doesn't really fix the situation. Gee, what a surprise. The average credit card interest rate is now around 20%, 20.3%, something like that. This is charged annually but counted daily. It doesn't seem like much. Let's say you have a $5,000 medical bill for a broken arm, which can happen after insurance. Okay, you have a deductible, whatever. The higher the deductible, the lower your premiums. But then you have to pay off that deductible first before they kick in. And a lot of times they'll only kick in like 75%, you know, 60%, 80%, whatever. They won't cover, the entire bill. So let's say you have a $5,000 medical bill, like I said, on January 1st, and you put it on your credit card. That first day you owe $5,000 plus $55 interest. It doesn't add like that every day. It doesn't add $55 a day. But that interest goes up on what you previously owe. If you want to pay that amount off in a year, okay, it's $464 a month. Can you afford that? I sure as hell can. A lot of people can. Working people. People that are making $15, $20, $25 an hour. Okay, working full time. We're going to slap almost $500, take that out of your paycheck if you were trying to pay it off in a year. Okay, let's say you want to raise it, you want to lower it down to something that's a little bit more reasonable, $100 a year or $100 a month. Okay, you know, you could do that $100 a month. If I had a sort of a bill because of my income, it would be tight, but I could probably pull $100 a month to pay off a bill. Okay, you have a broken arm, remember? That'll take you 9 years. Assuming that you can go back to work right away, whatever your particular job happens to be. A lot of people can't. They're working retail, they're working as a mechanic, they're working as a trash collector, whatever the job happens to be. It's more of a physical job than a sit-down office job. And even a sit-down office job a lot of times doesn't pay squat. Okay, almost $500 a month if you want to pay that off in a year. And if you don't pay it off in a year, again, that interest accrues, and your credit rating starts to go, which makes it even worse. This is also if you have a house payment or rent, utilities. You know, you like to be able to eat for the month. Transportation costs to and from work if you can work, to and from the doctor. This is assuming also you don't have another medical bill. Let's say you break your arm and something's wrong with it. And no fault to the physician, although that can happen too. But no fault to the surgeon, no fault to, if you need one, no fault to the physician. Maybe it just didn't set right, or maybe it's set but it's pinching off a blood vessel and you don't realize it right away. It can cause further damage. So for that $5,000 bill, you end up paying almost $5,800 in that year. Almost $1,000 more. If you pay it off in that year, that's assuming you can keep up those payments. If not, you have penalties and interest charged on those. You have interest charged on the penalties as well. Almost 28 million non-elderly Americans did not have health insurance in 2021. The largest group of Americans, almost 155 million non-elderly people, a little under half, there's around 330 million people in America, were covered by employer-sponsored health insurance. Okay, this is a hold that employers have. Again, doesn't matter. You can be a gas station attendant. You can be a trash collector. You can be a Walmart worker. You can be an office worker. You can be whatever. What happens if you lose your job, or you quit, get fired? You know, something happens. You know, you break your arm, whatever, where you can no longer work. At least at that job. How are you going to make bills? You have rent. You have a house payment. You have food. If you have a spouse or a spouse and children, say the spouse isn't able to work or is at home, you know, trying to keep the kids, you know, up and whatever, while you're going out, you know, and working. And not always, obviously, but a lot of times that spouse doesn't have any skills to find a job. Or if they find a job, it's going to be working at a McDonald's or wherever. And I'm not criticizing people who work at McDonald's in any way, shape, or form. What I'm criticizing is the amount of low wages that they get. And a lot of people would go to work for better jobs or work for themselves, you know, maybe start a business to be an artist or a mechanic or whatever, okay? But they would lose the insurance that they have. You have to pay for that yourself, okay? And that's not cheap, believe me. Most Americans over 65 were insured thanks to Medicare and Medicaid, okay? You know, the problems that the government wants to cut. God forbid we should cut back on things, you know, like bombing brown people or giving almost $4 billion to Israel, which, by the way, gives their people health care. Granted, it's like Medicare and Medicaid, you know, so sometimes you may or may not have premiums, sometimes you may or may not have copays, but everybody gets a basic package of medical services, including doctor visits, hospitalization, prescription drugs. They pay a monthly premium based on their income. You know, so if they're really, really poor, they don't have to pay anything, okay? But I guess, you know, all the people, you know, ranting and raving about the foreign aid we send overseas must have forgot that part, okay? And let me switch pictures again here. We're going to get to... hold on a second. Why is that one showing? That's weird. Okay. No, we're not going to do that. So, we're going to go into this a little bit, not much. Okay. Universal health care. How universal health care works. Okay, because a lot of people don't know. I didn't know... Why is that not... There. I did not know myself... Hold on a second. My mouse is messing up. Until a few years ago. I did not know myself in greater detail how universal health care works. So you have single payer, you have mandatory insurance, and you have national health insurance. Okay. The national health insurance, everybody pays into a plan, health insurance plan. Everybody pays into it. Okay. Obviously, if you have X income or lower, you wouldn't pay, and X income or higher, again, you wouldn't pay. But anywhere within that range, you would pay something. Okay. Single payer. Okay. It's government provided, sort of like Medicare and Medicaid. Okay. And everybody has the same access. Okay. Or mandatory insurance. Now, in this case, I believe this is the way Israel is also, you know, and other countries, a few other countries as well. Okay. You have your insurance, period. You don't have to pay, copay, whatever, okay? But you have your insurance, period. Okay? And it's usually, all three are usually funded through taxes. And people say, oh, we don't want higher taxes. You know, we already get taxed enough. And I don't disagree. Okay? We pay taxes high enough. The problem is that we doesn't cover everybody. Okay? The income cap on Social Security tax currently is $176,000. That means if you pay that amount or less, you pay X amount in taxes. Obviously, the 176 is the highest, and say you make $100,000 a year, which is $50 an hour. Sounds pretty good, okay? I would say you're going to pay X amount, and I believe the poverty level now is $19,000. I can't remember. So if you pay $19,000 or lower, you wouldn't pay any. You don't pay any Social Security tax, okay? But, so you, citizen middle class, say you get that top level, okay, you're making $176,000 a month, okay, or a year. You're busting ass taking names. Cool. Jeff Bezos pays the exact same amount you do. Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and not just the billionaires. There are over 700 billionaires in America alone. And then you have the people who make maybe, say, $950 million a year. People who make $400 million a year. People who make $5 million a year. Okay, people who make $200,000 a year still only pay what you pay if you make $176,000 a year, because there's an income cap. There shouldn't be. There's an income cap. If you remove that income cap, so everybody pays that same, even if it's graduated, okay, because it is from 0 to 176,000. Even if you had it graduated, you know, say 200,000, 176,000 to 200,000, 200,000 to 500,000, 500,000 to $1 million, you know, et cetera, okay, you pay X amount percentage, you know, not a flat amount, but percentage, okay. You would not believe the amount of money coming in, okay. Now, a lot of people, and I understand them, and I agree with them, okay. A lot of people say, you know, it's not so much, you know, and I've said this, it's not so much the taxes that I pay, it's where that money goes, okay. So a lot of people have a concern, and I agree. I do as well. A lot of people have a concern that if they did this and they raised that income, so where there was no income cap, you know, the government's going to go, oh, look at all this free money we have. We can do this and that. You know, we can buy Zuzus and Wham Whams, like a $900 hammer, and et cetera. So we're going to get to the next point here. I got to move this up a little bit. It's a little difficult for me to see. I'm sorry, my eyesight is not. I'm not as good as I used to was, as the old cartoon goes. Okay, so we got a pie chart here. All right. This pie chart is how much people pay percentage-wise, okay, or how much people make in America, okay, percentage-wise. All right, let me get a second here, and I got to move this over. Sorry, just some behind-the-scenes stuff. Okay, so 13 million families get 74% of the wealth in America. Seems like a lot, 13 million families, okay. But when you consider, again, like I said earlier, that it's 330 million, and probably more because that was the last time I checked, you know, a couple of years ago, 330 million people, okay, you're talking about 3%, 2 to 3% of the people in America have 3/4 of the wealth in America, okay. Then you have the 23 million families, okay, get most of the rest. They get about 1/4 of that wealth, okay. And then almost 66 million families, the lower echelon, like us, okay, if you're making $50 an hour, you're lower echelon. If you're making $100 an hour, you're maybe, you know, the top range, okay. You would be paying some, in Social Security, you would be paying the max, but again, it would be capped. So you would not be charged on that last $24,000 a year. This amount is just ridiculous, okay. So let's say we do the cap, okay. Jeff Bezos made $14 billion, okay. He paid $10,918, okay. He made $14 billion, and he paid $10,918. So let's compare it, okay. Let's say he made $25,000 a year, okay, which is roughly close to what a Walmart worker makes, because Walmart upped their wages recently. So they make any Walmart employee, the minimum is $14 an hour, okay, which is 28 grand a year, okay. So it's a little more, but we'll say 28,000 or 25,000, okay. So if Jeff Bezos made $25,000 a year, okay, in taxes he would have to pay $2. That's it. That's what the comparison is, okay. So, you know, how is he ever going to live off the remainder of the billions of dollars that he has, okay? Other billionaires and 100 millionaires and millionaires would have similar incomes. Is that the only tax they pay? No, of course not. But they do work, supposedly. Why aren't they getting taxed like we are? At that tax rate, it would be 16.12%. Okay. Even if they taxed him at 16.12%, he would have to pay $2.2 billion. Okay. Oh no. How is he ever gonna, let me look at my notes here, get by on the, I think he has 200, so like 198, or whatever it is, 195, 188, something like that, $1 billion. How's he ever gonna get by on all that? And yet, people making $15 an hour, or excuse me, 14 at Walmart. I've had many conversations with people, at my coworkers, they used to work there at Walmart, talking about how they don't want their taxes raised. That's fine, that's cool. Okay. I believe it was last year somebody computed that out of their, now this is Michigan, so states might be different, but out of their taxes, if you're making $14 an hour, okay, the amount of money that you pay for food stamps for other people is $25 of your taxes. Oil subsidies and gas subsidies, and other subsidies, other companies, including Walmart, $700 out of your taxes. But, you know, people are going to complain about the people, you know, on food stamps, EBT, whichever, because that's what they've been fed to think, to believe from the corporate propaganda. Okay. The Social Security Trust Fund is projected to fall short around 2035. Okay. This is largely due, again, to increasing income equality. If that cap were removed, wouldn't be any shortfall at all. Okay. The average billionaire makes around $11 million a day. Excuse me? $11 million a day. $14 an hour, 8 hours a day. Before taxes, you're making $132 a day. And did I do my math right? No, excuse me, $112 a day. Okay. And billionaires make, a lot of billionaires, not every single one, okay, but billionaires make $11 million a day. And all of that is not taxed at the rate that you're taxed at. So, to give more Americans health care, of course, cut costs, okay? We should cut costs, I agree. Not services, costs. And to pay for any shortfall, tax the rich. But as soon as someone mentions it, oh my God, we can't do that, you know, because they think, they've been taught, they've been fed to believe that any tax on the rich is going to hit them hard. Despite the fact that their taxes will raise not one penny. All right, give me just a second here. Yeah, their taxes are going to raise not one penny. Okay, so I'm going to show you one more image here. Okay, this is, I think, the most important one of the entire show. Healthcare spending. Where does it go? Now you have the far right, okay, which is the lowest amount, okay. Again, it's not political, okay. I'm just talking about the bar. But the far right is the government administration, okay. So about 2%, 3%, something like that, okay, out of the total 100% spent, okay. Then you go up to the almost the maximum of the, except for the last three, and you've got prescription drugs, which is around 8%. You have the net cost of health insurance, which is around 6%. Okay. Then you have physician services. Okay, this is surgery. This is getting orders for labs. This is writing prescriptions. This is doing, you know, different healthcare procedures. Around 15% of that cost. Okay. The massive amount of difference, as you can see on the left, is hospital care. 30%. Remember the cost I told you earlier, billions of dollars. Okay. So we're going to switch back one screen here because I'm just about done here. All right. Why is this not? Oh, that's good. Give me a second here, folks. I don't know why. Da-da-dee, da-da-dee. Okay, that's working. Why is it not? Bum-buddy da bum-buddy da bum-buddy da. Betrayals to you until we meet again. Okay, give me a second here, folks. Do some back and behind the scenes stuff. I do not know why that's not working because it was what was working in the show. So we'll go to this one. And we're just going to move this over and increase it. So you can see my ugly mug. Okay, so that's pretty much the show. Okay, I've kind of broken down the amount of healthcare costs that you have, amount of healthcare costs you pay, where the money goes. Okay, where the government money goes, and the fact I want to stress this again, the fact that it's nothing to do with party affiliation. It's nothing to do with political strife. It's to do with class warfare. And so in one respect, I do agree with a lot of people on the right that the divide is more toward the haves and the have-nots than it is politically left and politically right. Okay. As some people, including people like Ben Shapiro, Tim Pool, what is his name, Jordan Peterson, found out, much to their chagrin, when they tried, making these little videos, these little video clips saying, oh, well, the left does this and the left does that, and, and people in their commentary, right-wing people, said, no, this has to do with healthcare costs. And they brought stories up, of their family members or themselves dealing with healthcare insurance companies and having absolutely nothing to do with politics. So, I gave you some information. I hope that you got some information out of that. I try to make it a little bit, not dumbing down, okay, but making it easier for you to digest. And I will, again, pin the post, okay, once I'm done with the show, with all the links I used to back up everything that I say. If I tell you I have an opinion, like strawberry cheesecake ice cream is the best in the world, which it is, and if you don't disagree with me, that's fine. You can be wrong. But if I tell you it's my opinion, flat out it's my opinion. You can disagree with me all you want. But if I tell you something is fact, I'm going to back it up, as my regulars know. Okay. So I want you to drop a like, hit that notification bell for YouTube. Okay. You can follow my Blue Sky account. Again, it's the Angry Wrench. That's all one word. That's both the title that's shown, so to speak, and then the actual link, Angry Blue Sky, or Angry Blue Sky, yeah, Angry Blue Sky, Angry Wrench, .bluesky or bsky.social. I think that's what it is. It'll be in the description anyway. Again, hit the notification bell. If you want to leave a comment in the YouTube comment section. Also, go to my Blue Sky and leave a comment there. I will try to respond to all the comments, any comments that people want to leave. Agree or not, okay, I'm willing to have a discussion on the cost of healthcare. Since it has nothing to do with party, I'm going to leave that part out. So if you're going to bring in, oh, well, the Democrats did this or the Republicans did that, that's not going to work. Okay, this is a universal thing. This is a what's the word I'm looking for? Bipartisan. I don't use that word very often, but this is a bipartisan thing. Okay, this affects everybody. All right. So I want you to leave that comment. All right. Ring that notification bell on YouTube. Give me a like and a follow on Blue Sky. And remember my tagline: the Angry Wrench is kind. The Angry Wrench is not